WGAL News 8 begins with breaking news.
A train collided with a farm vehicle in Lancaster County. Good afternoon, I'm Susan Shapiro. WGAL News 8's Matt Barquero is live in Raffo Township.
Yeah, Susan, this was an Amtrak train and it crashed into a farm tractor, and you can see when you zoom in a little bit, this is where the train stopped, and you can see the tire of the tractor there still stuck underneath that train. The closest road to where we are is E.B. Chickies Road. Police had told us that this accident actually happened about 300 to 400 yards beyond what we're seeing. The impact happened, and then the train dragged the tire there about 300 yards to where we are. The police had told us that the farmer was on the tractor at the time, has a head injury. We're not sure of the severity. There may also be some minor injuries from some passengers that were on the train at the time. This is Amtrak train 648. According to the official Amtrak schedule, it had just left the Harrisburg station around 10 this morning, was making its way east with stops to Elizabethtown and Lancaster, but this is as far as it got. And obviously, as you can see, the train is stopped here for the foreseeable future. Amtrak has said that passengers on the train are being transferred to another train to make their way further east, but we haven't seen any activity on these tracks, haven't seen another Amtrak train come through, so we're waiting to see about that as well as the extent of the injuries for the farmer and anyone else who may have been on the train and got hurt at the time. And that's the latest. We are live in Lancaster County. I'm Matt Barquero, WGAL News 8.
New developments today related to the shutdown of a Lancaster County fuel company under a fraud investigation. The shutdown is having ripple effects. 8 on your side investigative reporter Brian Roach is continuing to follow this story.
Well, yesterday, News 8 on your side was the first to tell you about the sudden and unexpected shutdown of Worley and Obitz. It came as Vice President and owner Seth Obitz actually thought that he was going to be able to keep the residential side of the business open and running. And we were there as Obitz and his employees found out yesterday that the banks involved in the deal here were not willing to restructure their debt, and they were forced to shut down. Now, today, we have learned that 2 other businesses, as a result, have been forced to close, including Rank Plumbing and Heating, which I'm standing in front of here right now, and a portion of Triangle, 2 companies that Worley and Obitz had quietly purchased last year. In the wake of the Worley and Obitz closing, a lot of customers are asking about money they have already paid the company and products that they have leased. Well, this morning, I received the following message from Seth Obitz. He wrote, "I would like to get a message out to people that we are starting Obitz Energy soon and will honor whatever we can to make things right for the customers who join us. I will work with the prepaid customers in the new company to honor that." Obitz went on to say that there are many, many questions about what will happen now, and he will try to answer them as soon as possible. I want to reiterate, though, that we were there yesterday as the company found out it had to shut down. It seemed like it was a genuine shock to everyone, so it seems it's going to take them a few days to figure out what they need to do to deal with the customers that they have had in the past. I can tell you here at Rank, there's a sign on the doorway in the distance there that says closed due to the banks. So the situation is continuing to evolve. At this point, we know that approximately 350 employees of these 3 companies have been put out of work, and not to mention the thousands, if not tens of thousands of customers who may be affected. This investigation will continue by News 8 on your side, and we'll have the very latest tonight. In Lancaster, outside of Lancaster, I'm Brian Roach, News 8 on your side.
Sideline. The Philadelphia Eagles won't be visiting the White House today. The president called off a planned Super Bowl victory celebration in their honor, citing the ongoing dispute over the national anthem at games. WGAL News 8's Nicole Killian is in Washington with more.
President Trump says he will host a different kind of ceremony today without the Philadelphia Eagles. Overnight, he tweeted the team was invited to the White House. Unfortunately, only a small number of players decided to come, and we canceled the event. Staying in the locker room for the playing of our national anthem is as disrespectful to our country as kneeling. Sorry. Keep in mind, none of the Eagles players took a knee last season as other teams have. The Eagles didn't directly address the controversy, but Philly's mayor said disinviting them only proves the president is not a true patriot, something echoed by other local leaders.
Yet again, Donald Trump has found a way to divide people and to make it about himself instead of the championship team and their fans.
Unfortunately, I think in many cases with many of the Eagles players, there's been a lot more politics to the process.
The White House is calling today's event a celebration of America. It's expected to feature the U.S. Marine Band and Army Chorus, who will loudly and proudly play the national anthem, according to the president. In Washington, I'm Nicole Killian.
Some business executives from the Susquehanna Valley are headed to Washington for the celebration at the White House, even without the Philadelphia Eagles. News 8's WGAL Ed Weinstock was there as they departed this morning.
Yeah, the business execs boarded a bus in this York County parking lot about an hour ago, and right now they're on a bus headed for D.C. The passengers include the CEOs of numerous companies, from a company that refurbishes electric motors to a cybersecurity company. Now, as you've just heard, the White House originally planned to celebrate the Super Bowl champion Eagles, but the White House changed those plans last night, saying it was due to the Eagles' inability to fully participate in the event. So it became instead a ceremony to honor our country and loudly and proudly play the national anthem. Well, one of the execs we talked to says he's looking forward to meeting the president and giving him thanks.
Well, first and foremost, to thank you for supporting our agenda. Thank you for helping us with some tax reform that really was an enabler for this component of the economy, to be sure. And thank you again for helping us with the beginnings of regulatory reform.
Now, the event is scheduled for 3 at the White House and will include performances by the Marine Band and the United States Army Chorus that celebrate America. In York County, Ed Weinstock, WGAL News 8.
And a pretty decent start to the day across the Susquehanna Valley as we look live from our Skycam network, but more rain could be headed our way. News 8 meteorologist Ethan Houston is outside with the first look at the forecast. Hi, Ethan.
Hi, Susan. It feels pleasant outside right now. Temperatures either in the 60s to lower 70s, and humidity values are oh so comfortable. Right now it's 72 in Harrisburg and 71 if you're watching us in Lancaster. But there is a fly in the ointment. Yes, we've got some passing clouds and have a little bit of some very light rain moving through southeastern portions of York County. But as we pan off to the north, there is a cold front right now crossing northern Pennsylvania just to the north of I-80, and it's going to continue to push to the south. And as it does so, I do expect some showers and thunderstorms to fire up as we head through the afternoon and evening hours. Temperatures today will top off in the mid-70s. Best chance for these showers and thunderstorms for the Susquehanna Valley will be between roughly 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock, and then the showers will taper off just after sunset. Good news is we stay dry and comfortable for the rest of the midweek, but then our rain chances do start to go back up on into the weekend. All details on that coming up.
All right, thanks, Ethan. New at noon, a York County man who died after a tree fell on him is now identified as 35-year-old Jason Covert Kohler of Dover. Police say the tree fell on him yesterday while he was working with 2 other employees with Out on a Limb Tree Care Incorporated on the 1000 block of Twin Lakes Road in Warrington Township. In Lebanon County, the McDonald's on East Main Street in Palmyra will be temporarily closed after a fire destroyed the restaurant's fryer. The fire started around 4:20 this morning as workers were getting ready to open for the day. No one was hurt. Right now, police in North Carolina and Virginia are searching for a 7-month-old girl taken by her father Sunday night at knife point. Police say 51-year-old Carl Kennedy took Emma Grace Kennedy at a convenience store near the North Carolina state line. They may have been spotted southeast of Raleigh and could be heading to the coast. Authorities say Carl Kennedy is a registered sex offender. The U.S. says preparations are going well for the upcoming summit between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in Singapore. But with just 1 week to go, few details have been released about the summit. NBC's Hans Nichols reports from Singapore.
We know precisely when this summit will start. It will be 9 a.m. on June the 12th, but we don't know when it will end. It is, however, potentially an open-ended commitment. Authorities here in Singapore have blocked off 5 days from June the 10th to June 14th for this summit. They've designated what's called a special event area right in the heart of Singapore, an indication that security will be increased and enhanced. but that leaves open the possibility that you could have a 3-day summit. Now, President Trump has described this as just an initial meeting, a get to know you, but the White House has not given a firm timeline on when this summit will conclude. They've also been pretty fuzzy on just what the actual goals are. Initially, they said it was going to be complete and verifiable denuclearization. Now, President Trump seems to be more comfortable with just a meet and greet. At the same time, Secretary Mattis, the defense secretary, who is here in Singapore for several days meeting with counterparts, says, number one, there will be no discussion about removing U.S. troops from the Korean Peninsula, and that the sanctions regime will stay in place until North Korea agrees to complete and verifiable denuclearization. Hans Nichols, NBC News, Singapore.
The Singapore Mint has released a peace medallion ahead of the summit. It says the medallion commemorates the summit and Singapore's role as a neutral host. The front has what it calls an affirmative handshake between the two leaders and the flags of both countries. The back has a dove and the national flowers of the U.S. and North Korea, the rose and Magnolia Ciboli. The death toll from volcanic eruptions in Guatemala is now at 69. Emergency crews are having a hard time identifying the bodies because the intense heat from the volcanic debris left most of them unrecognizable. The volcano fire is still spewing rocks and ash nearly 2 days after a major eruption. Experts say the volcano has been experiencing 8 to 10 moderate explosions an hour. Administrators in the school district of Harrisburg are blaming in part a lack of state funding for the plan to lay off 50 employees. WGAL News 8's Becca Hendrickson explains.
One of the things that our students count on is the stability, the continuity in being able to come to school every day and to be greeted by a warm, loving teacher.
25 teaching positions are on the chopping block at Harrisburg School District as administrators weigh cutting programs like pre-K, kindergarten, and the arts.
All those things that aren't mandated would be cut from our budget.
Partially blaming state funding, statistics show the district is underfunded by $38 million. That breaks down to over $5,000 per kid.
Their enrollment's gone up or stayed the same, but their poverty levels have gone up.
Equity First says that's a common problem with cities in Pennsylvania where districts are underfunded by a total $1 billion. So those administrators met with the advocacy group to organize and are going to their representatives.
That's what we're trying to do, is get those school districts caught up to where they should be.
Lawmakers are introducing a bill that would add $400 million to basic education funding, with 75% of that going to the underfunded schools. In Harrisburg, Becca Hendrickson, WGAL News 8.
A big thank you to many of you for helping make miracles happen. WGAL News 8 viewers helped big time during yesterday's Children's Miracle Network telethon. They raised more than $270,000. And it caps off a year of giving, totaling $4.5 million to help sick and injured children at Penn State Children's Hospital in Hershey. The money will be used for life-saving equipment, programs, and research. Coming up on WGAL News 8 at noon, police recommend a new way to protect your valuables from being stolen.
Be prepared for a few passing showers and thunderstorms, and the Harrisburg Senators are taking on Tim Tebow and Binghamton later this evening. I do expect the shower chances to decrease after dark and temperatures start falling into the 60s. It's going to be a comfortable week ahead, and we have a nice dry stretch over the next couple of days, but our rain chances will go up heading into the weekend. More details on that coming up.
Checking out the numbers on Wall Street, a little bit mixed. The Dow has dropped about 64 points. The NASDAQ is up a little over 6, and the S&P down around 3.5.